Good evening, family. Welcome to another edition of Thorough Black Talk with your sister Keisha, your brother Tad, your brother Ashe SJ will be joining us shortly, along with our ground correspondent, Sister Marcia Dubois, and brother Flavius Jones, aka Blacksmith, will be joining us live on the broadcast in a few. Glad to be black again with each and every one of you. I hope you all are doing well. Please be doing well mentally, physically, spiritually. I hope things are well financially. I hope things are well with your family. We're living in crazy times, a lot of craziness going on. So, we always want to make sure our people are in the best of health and doing the best that they possibly can. So, kudos to all of you if you are, and if you aren't, I pray that you will, and soon at that. So tonight, family, we're going to continue our discussion from last week. We're going to take a trip down memory lane. Last week we got to see, the fashion, the atmosphere, how our people lived and moved from the 1920s to the 1930s up through the 1960s, where we began to talk about the breakdown in the psychology of African people. We came to this country already with a mindset to create a nation. We were here before the European was here. Um, and even after he's gone, we'll still be here. If I'm following history correctly, and I think that I am. So we're going to continue this walk and help us all to understand the psychological breakdown of what happened between nation building to wanting to be a part of an integrated system, and how did that all work out for us, right? Was it for the betterment? Did we progress? Are we still in the same position? Are we worse off? And so we have to look at all of these dynamics so that we can have a clear picture and a clear understanding of the times that we are living in now. Um, right now, you have so many um, racially motivated crimes that are taking place around the country and around the world, to be honest. But in dealing with the United Snakes of America, we are dealing with various racial crimes, crimes against men, women, and children. Right now, you have in the state of Colorado the Mallory family, who are homesteaders, ranchers, and farmers, who are being harassed by the white people in the town. You know, they are killing off their cattle, um, threats, bodily harm, and death to them. The state is not um, compliant when it comes to the Mallory family seeking justice. So right now there are a lot of people on the ground out there who are giving us daily reports or weekly reports as to what is going on. We dealt with the same situation here on Long Island, New York, where our brothers and sisters had to go out there to defend a sister, black woman, single mother, raising her child, and the people in the town or her neighbors harassing her, threatening her. So these are the same things that our ancestors had to face, right? When you go through the baby boomer generation, before that, come back to the 60s, 70s, the Black Power movement, today, still the same problems, right? So I wanted us to get an understanding of the psychology of what this all is. So tonight we're going to continue to take a look at that, and we're going to take some in-depth look at some of our great historians, psychologists, engineers, social engineers, economists as well, to get their perspectives and their point of views. Um, a commentary or professionalism that you are not going to see in mainstream media, right? Those of us on this platform, Brother Tad, Ashe, myself, Blacksmith, Sister Marcia, many of you who tune in every week, you are well aware of these folks. So tonight we want to break down a lot of the things that they are talking about. So last week we left off with a night of elegance, the beginning of the Black Power movement, right? We're moving through the 60s, and you had one of the hosts of an elegant event of the Boule, which you all saw in that video. And he said that they choose a charity, or they had chosen a charity, because this is past tense, a charity every year to donate money to help black, causes. However, you heard out of his own mouth when he said most of the money that they raised really went for the night of elegance, for the partying, right? So it's the same thing today. You have a lot of these organizations who profess to raise money and do work in the community when it's only a kickback for them, them and their cronies, them and their crew. And this is why we still deal with the same problems that our grandparents faced. So, we have to change how we see things, and history is a big component of that. I want to give a special shout out to the BK William Mackey Jr. History Club for coming back last night with the great, mighty, powerful research historian, Professor Trust Graham. It was magnificent. And once I have the YouTube video for that, I will repost it on the Thorough Black Talk page. I like one of the questions that Brother Trust brought up last night. He said most of our people, when they hear of the organization, the NAACP, they believe that people like W.E.B. Du Bois and others were founding members of the NAACP, when that is not correct. And that's because we hear a particular narrative and we run with it, right? Because it is continuously thrown down our throat. So you say to yourself, well, the brain says to itself, well, if they keep saying that this happened, then it must be, right? But as Trust Graham brilliantly laid out last night, the founding members of the NAACP were liberal white males. WEB and others came in later on, but they were definitely not founding members. So I just brought up that point for number one, to tune in to the William Mackey History Club every 2 weeks. They have a presentation. It is live on Zoom, and we always post the live Zoom on Thorough Black Talk's Facebook page. So you want to stay tuned for that. And two, um, saying what he said, it just opened up, the brain, the mind to think, well, maybe I should question everything, right? You should always have an inquisitive mind, and always remember that those who keep us oppressed are not here to educate you, um, to overthrow them, to be better than them, to win the race, right? So you have to remember that education was not founded. And you can check David Rockefeller's very own words, where he said, and I quote, "It is to build a system of laborers, a system of workers, not to educate you." So the best education that you can give yourself is self-study, right? Continue to do that. But as we continue to go through tonight, I want you to connect with, your ancestors, and begin to remember the Mayafo, remember everything that we've been through. One of the best books that I've ever read, and I think it's about maybe 100 pages long, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, about 103 pages, is the book Kabuka, right? I'm going to put it up on the screen later so y'all can see it. I know the background is blurring it out, but when you read Kabuka, um, it takes you back, and it gives you a direct connection with your spiritual ancestors. It takes you back point by point what happened, um, when it happened, how it happened, the brutality of it. It is not an easy read for the faint at heart. But we have to endure these things so that we do not forget. We are the only group of people in this country who are often told to forget it. It happened back then, let it go. But everyone else is um, forced to remember crimes that happen against other people. I want you to remember. So, before we continue with last week's video, I want to play this clip of Dr. John Henrik Clark. Um, and please bear with me, family. I've been having some serious computer issues all day. I just had to order a brand new system. I had to change the Wi-Fi, everything, because I've been having so many problems. So just bear with me, and we'll get through this tonight. Okay. So this is a clip of Dr. John Henry Clark. In my opinion, and the opinion of some of the greatest scholars on the planet, black or white, Asian or whatever, would tell you that Dr. John Henry Clark was one of the best historians on the planet. And in my opinion, one of the best storytellers on the planet, right? Because it's a one thing to know history, but it's another thing to be a great griot, right? To understand the true essence of your audience's soul so that you can speak to that soul. And I think Dr. John Henry Clark mastered this soul. Let's listen to him real quick, family. Hold on, here we go.
Immigration. We should have we integrated ourselves out of existence in so many different places. Many of the black colleges are being taken into liberation, especially the black state schools. The black state schools are being overrun with inept white teachers who can't teach any other place, and they go into black schools and do no teaching and get paid for it. We misunderstood what it meant to be with them. We quite forget that some of us are far more competent than some of them, especially in some areas where we've been the masters in the field of teaching and in the fields of sciences, in the field of basic mechanics. I think this is a subject that needs to be dealt with because there's a reoccurring crisis. There's a crisis of ideology in our life. We're always choosing other people's ideologies and neglecting our own. This is why Ghana is not the great example nation that it could have been, not the great beating heart of Africa that it could have been. I'm a great admirer of Nkrumah, but he chose too many outside ideas and outside advisors, and he neglected the advice of his great school teacher, schoolmaster, Joseph B. Danquois, who kept telling him, you can have a modern state, but you need a traditional African state, and you need traditional African values. And he kept saying that as socialism is only scientific socialism, nothing is scientific that fails to work for you, no matter who people call it. What call it. Now, one thing our intellects have not learned, that nothing the European mind ever devised was meant to do anything but to facilitate European control over the world. The European wastes no time in humanity or sympathy. He wants to control, and he will control by any means necessary, or he will destroy. He does not. He never enters into partnerships with other people. And if you think that he's going to enter into a partnership with you, no matter what he calls himself, capitalist, Marxist, or socialist, or anything, he came to control. Under any guise, he must control. And once you understand that, you have to understand, no matter what religion I belong to, no matter what denomination I belong to, no matter what political ideology I follow, my people must always be in charge of themselves. They must be the masters of themselves. And any ideology, any religion, anything that fails to serve that purpose is a waste of our time. All our energy needs to be converted into that. And this is the confusion of what we call intellect. The role of the teacher, the intellect, the preacher, the role of any kind of leader is to make sure his people know the time of day, the political time of day, the emotional time of day, and the historical and cultural time of day. Make sure his people are trained in how to face reality. And if you face reality right now, you will realize that you're living in a society that is dying. The society is not only dying, the society intends for you to die with it. It's around in.
So you heard the master teacher make it plain. I mean, he warned, us that we have to be very careful with people, we bring in our midst. I see a lot of organizations that claim to be black organizations, but they have other folks in their organization. They have other folks in leadership of their organizations. And then you wonder why we don't get anywhere. No one is going to fight harder for you to overthrow them. No one is going to fight harder for you to tear down a system that is working for them. And we have to understand this dynamic. We really, really must understand this. As we go through our lives, you are going to see a lot of people pop up in front of you, a lot of attorneys, a lot of people who claim to be fighting for our people. But you have to do your own due diligence and see what is behind them, who is behind them. You know, back about maybe, I don't know, 7 years ago, when Straight Black Pride was telling everybody that BLM or Black Lives Matter was not an organization for black people to help black people, that it was an organization for the LGBTQ, that it was an organization that was funded by other folks, that it was an organization that was built to tear down the black family and black credibility. And that's exactly what has been revealed recently in recent years about this organization. But I saw a lot of you outside in the streets in 2021, when there were a lot of riotings in the street, and I saw a lot of you. And I just sat back and shook my head, because I know you did not know, that a lot of people just did not know. Unfortunately, a lot of us want to get involved and we want to do something, and we don't know how. We don't know who to turn to. Who should we ask? You know, you got to do your own due diligence. So we're going to get into last week's episode in a minute. Let me give some quick shout out. Shout out to Sister Farnessa on the check-in. Hope all is well with you and yours. Sister Joyce, Brother Monty on the check-in. Long Island in the building. What's good, family? Sister Marie Raymond, be more on the check-in. What's good? I hope everything is well with you. The myth, the man, the legend, Magnetic Tyson in the building. Shout out to North Kakalaki. What's good? Our great brother, the general in the building, Knowledge Born Allah. What's good with you? I got to talk to you, Knowledge Born. I've been given an assignment by an elder, and I might need your help on some things, brother. We got to make something happen. So I'll talk to you once I get all the details. We're gonna make it happen. All right. Crush 409, Big Russ in the building. Philly on the check-in. What's good with you? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. A lot of y'all on Facebook, some of y'all on Twitch. What's up, Janine? I don't know why I can never bring up my Twitch chats. I don't know. But shout out to all of y'all checking in over there. And those of you who check out the broadcast, at a later date, a later time. Um, I want you all to. I got an announcement. Saturday, 11 a.m., 11 to 2 or 4, is it? 127 Pennsylvania Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Sporting event going down for young black girls. Young black girls. Bring all your children to the event. You got some daughters, some nieces, and some cousins. Bring them out. Bring them out. 127 Pennsylvania Avenue, 11 a.m. this Saturday. Volleyball. I mean, so many activities that's going to be taking place, and we'll bring up the flyer again a little later. Now, I want to continue our video. I don't know what's happening here, but later on in the broadcast, we're gonna show some of the crew. Brother Tad, Brother Ashe, myself, Brother Blacksmith, and many others who have been doing work in our community, just to show you a little bit of background for those really don't know the things that we do in our community, right? So let's get to it, family. We're gonna start this video. I think you all should be able to see it. Here we go. That's it right here.
Beginning with the March on Washington, led by Dr. Luther King and other civil rights leaders, when the mood among Negroes was one of hope, of rising expectations, of a vision of a new and more just relationship between white and black. But a new term was added to the American lexicon, white backlash.
I've read newspaper articles of people, second generation immigrants, saying, well, my father came here and he didn't have any civil rights bill to help him. But the person forgot one, that his father wasn't black. The sociologists have this term high visibility to refer to the fact that you can always see the Negro, he wears his badge of color. European could come speaking a European language. Once he learned English, things were different. He could change his name and take an Anglo-Saxon type name and lose himself in the vast middle class of this country. No matter what the Negro attained in terms of his money or his education, he could not slough off color, and insofar as color was a focal point for prejudice, he was at a competitive disadvantage. And yet one of the great ironies of life in the United States is that white middle class neighborhoods, without even waiting to see what types of neighbors they are dealing with, have had the tendency to meet, become a Negro with first in the old days with restrictive covenants when they were declared unenforceable in the courts with arson and bombs, and a wall of lack of acceptance, and very often, and this has been in those neighborhoods where you have block organizations or groups that have welcomed the new Negro neighbor. Very often, the new Negro neighbor is more solid than the middle class, who families who themselves have only become middle class in the last generation. Very often, immigrant families who cannot even speak English, impeccable as the English which the new Negro neighbor has, have reacted with violence and with fury in order to try to prevent Negro neighbors from coming in. And perhaps the greatest of the Negro middle class that its aspirations are blocked with respect to living in those kinds of neighborhoods where one can live a middle class style life most effectively. The most extreme form of this, of course, is in the suburban areas. And if any of the problems of the inner city are going to be solved, as well as the problems of the Negro middle class, the suburban ring of major cities is going to have to drastically alter its attitude toward people other than the color of skins.
So again, just to give you a little context, and I see Sister Marcia on the check-in. Let me bring her in here real quick, family. All right, here we go. I got you, Sister Marcia. I think that, here we go. Okay, so to give a little context, family, that the narrator, or excuse me, the doctor from Roosevelt University, Dr. Drake St. Clair Drake, he's talking about how European immigrants will move into the United States, move among us, and exhibit racial, you know, crimes against us, tactics against us. And then once the black middle class tries to move into European or white enclaves, those residents then sell off the property and move out. And this is continuum throughout the United States. So I just wanted to give our people a little context of what Dr. Drake was talking about. But Sister Marcia is on the check-in. What's good with you, Sister Marcia?
Peace, Queen. How are you?
Black and highly favored right here on the Brooklyn Bridge, ready to get it in. How did you like the BK
Wonderful.
Jackie History Club lesson last night?
Last night was a lot to unpack. I need to hear it again. Um, it's very interesting listening to the idea of the Harlem Renaissance in another way, right? Because um, when I begin my love for Black history, it's in middle school, and did a project on New York, and I chose Harlem Renaissance, fell in love with Zoe Neale Hurston and started reading her books. But it was that idea of Black beauty in a different way, and that we don't talk about it. That's not expressed in school. And especially, I go to a Catholic school, so Black is not expressed at all. You don't have Black fashion, unlike public school, you had the Black fashion. There you have your uniform, you're straight and narrow, everything is, very organized in that fashion. So to see the expressions of color that comes out of the Black Renaissance, and to see that Black Renaissance doesn't only mean Harlem, it actually means the entire United States, right? And I never even creatively thought of the entire United States. People are coming out of different environments and expressing themselves in ways they've never been able to express themselves. So I really enjoyed that. And hello, Thorough Black family. Sorry for not saying hello, but it's good to be back.
Yes, yes, yes. But again, our reason I brought that up is because it is in context with what we're discussing now, what we're discussing tonight. The need to research a little bit further, right? When we hear certain things, we just run with it instead of actually going deep and looking deep, within it. And that's why, you know, in the previous broadcast, I talked about, well, two before, I talked about the daughter of Madam C.J. Walker, Alele, right? Because she was one of the main founders of the Harlem Renaissance. So I would have not known that had I not been doing my own research just on Black life here in the state of New York. So I came across that and it was just profound to me. And last night he also talked about, one of my favorites, Madam Stephanie Sinclair. That's my girl right there. So I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
excited when he was talking about her because again, we don't understand that we had a lot of black women who went toe to toe with some of the baddest and most evil white men on this planet and won. You understand? It was her,
Mhm.
who made it plain to not just Lucky Luciano, but Dutch Schultz as well, that you ain't coming up here doing what you want to do. And, even though she was a numbers runner, she made sure that everybody in her camp kicked up to the UNIA movement. And not just UNIA, but Father Divine's Feed the Hungry program as well. So you had now, think about this now. I want our family to just think about this. This is during the time of the Great Depression, right? Here it is, a woman finds a way for black people to not only make money and thrive, but to build an industry, right? Learning from Casper Holstein, who also, was huge in that life, but made a way out of no way for black people. And then once the white mobsters saw the money that was being made up in Harlem, that's when Lucky
Cut.
Luciano and all of them wanted to come up there and run the game. But you got to remember, we often hear stories about Bumpy Johnson and Frank Lucas and all of these cats, but Bumpy worked for her. She put him on. You know what I'm saying? So we have to look at history not as a date, a name, and a place, but
Asha.
the totality of the time period. So that's why.
Asha. And one of the main other things is that African women are not Urugo women, right? We've always made our way. But somehow, and in some conversations, they want us to be the same. We have never been the same. From the times of ancient Kemet, we were warriors then. And throughout history, there is a continual pattern of us forging ways with our husbands and our brothers so that our community, our nation can be successful. Somehow, in the midst of all of these manosphere and hemisphere and queer fears and all these fears that makes no sense, they are trying to regulate African women into these postures that we do not belong in. And we need to be able to speak on our truth in a different way, not trying to be combative with our brothers, but to show that we have a longevity. As Dr. Henry Clark just said, the records show where our place is in history. Don't fall into the paradigm that the Yurugus are placing their females. That has nothing to do with us. We are different species. We work together, they don't. So we got to get that conversation straight again. But yes, continue on.
So even in our own humanity, family. Now, in the clip you saw in the beginning, they were black people who were picketing. Then you had white mobs who came to, protest against them. Now we're going to move into the further into this clip, and what you're going to hear is testimony from a millionaire doctor. This physician, I guess you would call him upper middle class or elite for that particular time. Um, who had his wake up call, and a lot of people who are black middle class or black elite often have to have their card pulled. So we are going to show this clip again. Now I want you to hear the testimony of this doctor. Give me a second, family. And again, I want y'all to bear with us because, like I said, in a couple of weeks, some parts are on back order, but we will have a brand new computer system because it's driving me crazy here, and I had to do some outside things to get some things done. So just bear with me, family. The whole game is about to change in a couple of weeks for us. But hold on.
Quite shocked in many places. Uh, I wanted to see how the ordinary Negro might be in these villages. Oh, I remember at one time I parked at...
Millionaire Chicago scientist Dr. Percy Julian, co-chairman of a committee of Negro businessmen pledged to raise $1 million a year for civil rights goals, tells of a personal experience.
Just gently bumped the back of an automobile of a fellow who was standing there in parking. I bumped his car slightly, and then I jumped out and I said, "Oh, very much. I wanted to see how he would accept an apology." Well, he called me a three-letter name and with black in front of it. And I asked him please not to do that. It wasn't necessary. But then he jumped up and ran into a store. "I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the police." The police came and asked him. He said he wanted to institute a claim for damage. I had damaged his car, and the police tried to see where the damage was. There was no damage. And yet he was just furious. He was, I began to wonder, well, just how deep is the hatred of a person of this sort? I went over that, over and over that experience many, many times. As I went through these suburbs, and I would ask children how many of them had a Negro friend. They would look at me as though they're astonished, and hardly a child I could find who said he had a Negro friend in any of these places. One might say, "Oh, I know one," and the innocent children. And I realized that really the great impact of the ghetto, the great impact of the philosophy of the actual existence of the untouchable in America, which the Negro represents, that the white child does not know him, and the white child grows up in these insulated villages to come in contact with him later on and to pass judgment on him, to represent him in Congress, to represent him on, to try him on, to send him to the army as a member of a draft board. And they never know him. They don't. All they know is hearsay about it, rumors about him. And this has not been overcome by the large number, even though there are larger numbers of people of goodwill who teach their children the proper things. But there are so many who don't bother to teach their children. And I'm not sure that we can rest comfortably and think that the majority of white Americans have goodwill toward the Negro. Unfortunately, I wish I could keep this dream, but I'm afraid that these experiences to which you refer made me doubt that I could have any such dream as that.
It's a fallacy, for people to say that if a Negro is prepared, if he prepares himself, well, then the opportunities are there. I think the press plays up the appointment of an extremely outstanding Negro to a high-level kind of position. He's probably an extremely capable person who should have been appointed to that position, much sooner than he was. But and this creates the impression that things are better, and they're not. Things are getting worse. And this includes all Negroes, those with visas, those with. As we work in the Urban League, one of our major efforts is to establish communication between the races and assess the communication that takes place. And this is pretty much our business. And we have noticed, Kelly, well, I think it comes from Congress. Congress has adopted a hard line, and there's no reason to believe that they're going to anyway. As a result of the hard line, ready to graduate, and as we discuss philosophies, as you can have that urban league approach that I'm ready to be a man in America now, that I want full equality with no holds barred, and if I can't have it, no one can have it. And he's an intelligent boy, and in my opinion, a pretty decent boy, a nice boy. But this is his attitude, and this is the attitude of his friends.
Okay, come on, man, get off me, man. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Come on, man, get off me.
Last summer, the entire nation was made aware of the violence that erupted in Newark, New Jersey. I happened to be attending a National Urban League conference in New York, and my family still lives in Newark. And so I decided to visit them on the way back to Washington. And I visited with my stepfather for about a half hour or so, and we decided to visit with a sister of mine. So as we were going from my stepfather's apartment over to a brother's house to get in his car and go visit a sister who lived in another part of Newark, as we were about to get into the car, about 3 carloads of Newark police came around the corner, and without warning, and to my knowledge, without any provocation from us, opened fire on us and a group of about 40 or 50 people who were standing on the stoop of this apartment building where my brother lived. And my stepfather was mortally wounded, and I had another brother who was wounded twice, who required an operation and extensive hospital care. And we were under fire, I would say, for approximately 10 minutes by the Newark police. They said they were looking for a sniper on the roof or the upper floors of the apartment building, but they were still firing at ground level range. And once I had an opportunity to collect my senses and really evaluate and think this thing through, it came through to me in stark reality that regardless of how far up the economic ladder any Negro goes, that there's still this oppressive thing of prejudice that he's subjected to on the part of the white man here in America. And I realized that I was extremely fortunate not to be killed myself. And that even though I possessed 2 degrees, even though I had played football for Syracuse, even though I was an elementary school principal who had educated white children, even though I worked with white people in the Washington Urban League, even though there are white people that I consider close friends, that as the boys say, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, right down to where it really matters, you're still a Negro, and you're still identified with every other Negro in America, be he in a ghetto or.
So again, you have two different testimonies here, right? One from a physician, the other from school principal and former football star. Excuse me, Marcia. Former football star had their wake up call, right? Now the first gentleman says, again, he does not sympathize with those who look to work within the system because his wake up call made him realize that. The second gentleman, just driving to see his family from DC to Newark, happened to go through the riots and his car is fired upon. His stepfather was murdered. His brother was wounded. And as he said, and I quote, Congress is not going to change anything for you. Today, we still have that belief system that if we vote with the choices that are given to us, there will be change. This is testimony from two gentlemen from the baby boomer generation. We are now in Gen Z, right? Still same situations. You saw an incident on the film where police was roughing up a brother. Same thing. They fired upon an apartment building. Who lived in that apartment building? The police is just firing upon it. So we still face these same problems today. So I just want our people to connect the dots that what is yesterday is today. Today will be tomorrow. You have to change the dynamic in how you fight. Sister Marcia, your thoughts on that clip?
Absolutely, sister. Like Jay-Z said, still new, right? That song is poignant. If y'all just take your time and listen to that song, I'm not saying Jay-Z is the smartest tool in the shed, but he gives you some line items for you to analyze. And so, yeah, even like the other day, this brother sent me this clip of a sister saying, I work with the CIA, and my daughter is not understanding who Africans were prisoners of war during the time that they were in prison. And then I'm like, boo hoo, why are you crying? The brother is telling me that I'm wrong. The sister pays taxes and she should get the right education that she wants. You want the right education, you educate your child. You do that. You take that leap of faith and you do what you have to do for your family. If you think your child needs a different type of education to understand who they are, that's what we will have to do. And, we've been doing it and we stop and we do it and we stop for whatever reason because we want the system to pay into the educational system. No. And I look back and I always, when I was a child, I used to argue with my mom, why'd you pay for my education? Yada, yada, yada. But if everyone paid for an African education for their children, our African mindset would be so much different. But we'll buy into, oh, I pay taxes, so the public school is going to pay for the education, or I'll send my child to a private school or a Catholic school so that they can have the religious understanding. Well, all that understanding is still making us less than who we are to ourselves, not for anyone else, but for ourselves. And if we want to become better people, we're going to have to start making sacrifices because, yeah, the nails and the henny and the hair and all of those things that I do too, right? So I am not above the code, but the will of sacrifice for the future is what we need to develop. Because I think our ancestors, and not even I think, I know our ancestors sacrificed for us. But are we sacrificing for our children? I'm just not sure about that right now. But yeah, we're 66, this film was made 50 years later. and we're still talking about the same thing. We haven't moved forward. There is an arrested development that is happening to us. We're witnessing it, we see it, and we're going to allow it to continue. People, we could do better. We're allowed to do better. But that's my thoughts.
Facts. Just some quick points, Sister Marcia. Dr. Fillet, she said, Ashe, yes, sis. Um, she said, our sisters have not and still do not get their just dues for the sacrifices, hard work, contributions of many of our black African women and shining sheroes. Absolutely. This is why we have to, black women, tell our story. It has to be more of us telling our story, right? So and I want to say for those of you who are watching, Dr. Fillet and MWM, in my humble opinion, I I would challenge you to prove me wrong. I'll take that challenge. But is the largest group or the only group that continuously continue to be a voice for black women and black girls, going back to when she founded the Million Woman March. So in the 90s. So kudos to MWM, and you can check out her radio broadcast. We reposted on the Thorough Black Talk Facebook page every week, so you guys can go back through our Facebook and check it there, if you will. She also says, that's right, Sister Marcia, we do not work together in this day and age, and to the extent that we should as Black African women in the United States. The reason that is, in my opinion, is as Dr. Amos brilliantly laid out, the psychological schizophrenic mindset that a lot of us still continue to suffer from, right? For example, and let me just keep it simple. When I decided to cut my hair, right, I had regular average size shoulder length hair, and I always kept my hair straight, what have you. But when I decided to cut it and lock it, you know how many people told me I was crazy? You gonna cut off all of that nice hair? My hair won't be nice if I cut it and lock it. What you telling me? I don't. You know how that's gonna look. Yeah, I know how it's gonna look. The same way I look now. But and that's one of the things we have to move in silence with a lot of things that we do. From that point on, I said anything that I want to do for myself or for black people, I'm not telling nobody nothing. I'm just going to do it. Because people will deter you because, you know, there's a glitch in the matrix and they can't quite grasp what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Just like when Straight Black Pride was telling everybody about the LGBT community and what its main goal was to legalize pedophilia. Now everybody's talking about pedophilia. You have people in the LGBTQ community who talking about pedophilia, who saying this transformer stuff is out of whack, and you have them saying it. So again, kudos to Straight Black Pride, who was on the front line and still continue to be on the front line in dealing with this monster. But black people put the nail in their own coffin and compromise their own culture by voting for such things. How do you put something before your very own survival just because it feels good to you in a moment or it might make somebody you know happy? I don't care about that. One person does not control the group. I mean, you're not bigger than the group. It can't be. It can't be. So, I'm glad to see though a lot of people on social media are starting to, put these things out. And speaking about putting things out, we got our brother Blacksmith on a check-in back on the Brooklyn Bridge. Now,
Hey,
before Brother
what's up,
Black
Brooklyn
go
Bridge?
in, what's up,
What's up,
Brother
Brooklyn
Black?
Bridge?
I wanted to say, now that, we had this eruption in Ohio with chemical toxic materials. We had
Uh-huh.
balloons shot out of the sky. Just about every day I'm on YouTube, another video is popping up in my feed about UFOs and how they're moving closer to us. And I'm like, are they listening to Black, or are they stealing his material from years ago? Because some of the things that they say in Black, I'm like, he said that like 10 years ago. But I just want you to know, not everybody is playing catch up to what you saying, Brother Black. But I'm gonna step off
Okay.
my you feeling.
Peace to the panel. Peace to the panel, y'all. I miss my brothers, but I'm gonna go on with the two beautiful sisters I got right in front of me. Project Bluebeam, I'm sure you heard that before, has been in the works probably since the 80s. Remember, Reagan, the Reagan era started that outside of NASA space programs and stuff like that. When remember the Star Wars program they had back then? Say again? Hello? I can't hear y'all.
Go ahead. We got you. Go ahead.
Let me just let y'all know, when you start talking about space outside of governmental, outside of NASA and all that, that's a real deep hole to go through. And they so when they messing with the line, I ain't surprised. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to what I was saying about Ronald Reagan and the Star Wars days, that a lot of people, the SALT treaties and stuff like that, this is stuff from the 80s. Now, I didn't know nothing about it when it was happening, but, when you look back in time, this was the start of government entities talking about space outside of, the confines of NASA and the aeronautical agencies inside of the government. So what I heard a few days ago, just to get off my soapbox real quick, I want to share the panel. I heard a guy say that we need to beware because because aliens and other world entities, whatever you want to call them, do exist. But if they doing it with Project Bluebeam, is to continuously put it in your face so you could start having a narrative to follow, like the movies that they showed 10, 15 years ago, when there was just ODing on space movies and an alien force coming to take over and eat us and blah, blah, blah. So just be aware of those two possibilities when it comes to the space stuff in particular.
Thank you, Brother Black.
Right.
But again, I know they listen to you anyway. So I already know what it is. So family, we're gonna move right on along. I wanted to just get that point in because I know oftentimes we don't get a chance to hear Brother Black all the way through. And now he gets to feel what I've been feeling for years between Tad and Ashe. So now he's between me and Marcia. Them two get me in a lot of trouble. Them two, lot of trouble. But anyway, now them three get me in a lot of trouble. So, and then later on in the broadcast, we're going to show some clips of all of us doing community work, just so you guys could see. But I want to continue with this clip because now we're going to see what the meeting and the planning was all about, right? How they met privately in people's houses. They didn't broadcast everything all over social media. We're going to do such and such and such. Whatever disagreements they had, they kept it within house. And now you're going to see a planning session. You're going to see Dr. John Henry Clark, who we opened the broadcast with, in the middle of this debate. He's not really giving a perspective. He's there listening to a bookstore owner out of Harlem and another, gentleman go at it. So hold on, family. Here we go.
And if I read history right, all the talk about chattel slavery and whatnot led up to a climax. And that was when John Brown, of sainted memory, struck the blow at Harper's Ferry in a head-on confrontation with the seat of power. And settled and fought out, and it was. And 250,000 brave black Afro-Americans fought in the Civil War and brought victory to the Union arms and saved this nation from dismemberment and fought for their own liberation. And this kind of thing will have to be done again, so long as the Johnsons and the rest of them fool around, play around, monkey around. However much we may disagree with some impulsive statements of the Rap Brown, we are not going to render them up as sacrificial lambs to these racist oppressors. And the masses of the Afro-American people are going to stand behind them.
But you can't advocate violence with Rap Brown and all. Go burn down a whole state and move on to burn down another state.
I am not advocating violence, but I am not condemning Rap Brown. Rap Brown has guts. I'm not condemning him. I'm not condemning.
That's providing funds for the party.
I would sooner cut my arm off my body than condemn a militant Afro-American who, however misguided, is challenging the oppressor.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Challenge them. You challenge them the best way you can.
Serious debate concerning tactics, goals, and strategy is commonplace at middle-class Negro gatherings today. While outright violence is generally deplored, there is nevertheless widespread empathy with ghetto rioters as having expressed more openly the same pent-up frustrations and resentments they themselves share.
It isn't just a question of jobs, although jobs are important. That's if people have to work and earn. But the masses of the Afro-American people are simply fed up with the situation of prejudice and oppression. They look at themselves and they look at these European American communities with their with all the things that they enjoy, with all their luxuries and whatnot, and beyond all this, they resent this European American looking down their noses at them. It's a revolt for manhood status. They feel that they can't go on this way anymore. Yes, and they're going to do something about it.
As a pacifist, I deplore violence in any form. I make no hesitancy about the fact that I feel that all violence is inimical.
Dr. Wright, Episcopal clergyman and organizer of the new Black Power Conference, articulates a growing trend among black intellectuals.
But as a historian and as a pragmatist also, I recognize that there's no group of people who have been oppressed who have won their freedom unless they have either believed in actual violence of some kind or have utilized effectively the threat of, I would read into the presence of so many middle-class oriented, there aren't any middle-class black people, but middle-class oriented black people at the Black Power Conference as a sign that middle-class black people want to render to this nation and to our world the most basic service that can be rendered at this particularly urgent and perilous hour, and that is of understanding and relating to the desperate needs of the most desperate in our society. And
that's James Farmer right there. That's James Farmer.
All of our black people realize that they are oppressed, and it's simply the press, the public press, that has chosen to identify the philosophy which says that black people should have a sense of being and a sense of control of their own destiny as being an esoteric movement associated with a certain type of so-called radical view. And all black people are radical. Everyone who loves this country is a radical. I think that these people who denounce the materialist value in our culture serve a fundamentally creative purpose. The greatest evil that happened in our city streets this past year was not the destruction of property by people who were driven crazy. And when people are driven crazy, they do crazy things. And in our system of justice, if a person is temporarily insane, he's adjudged, he's not rendered not incapable of judgment. And so riots, which are a form of social psychosis, certainly are amoral. They're beyond the realm of moral judgment. But the worst thing that happened was resort to public massacres as an antidote to the destruction of physical property. Now, no civilized mind could ever equate the value of one human life with 2 stolen bottles of whiskey, a stolen television set, or the destruction of $500 billion worth of property. Now, I've had some religious leaders who have said that we must have order. But I may not be an expert on Christianity, but it may be savage, but certainly not civilized for people to equate property values with human life. It is this kind of thing that I think that our black people must repeatedly remind our nation until our barbaric nation realizes the error of its ways.
Traditional religious concepts are also under growing scrutiny by theologians.
We liberals cannot get very excited over what Stokely called at one time the death of 400 or 500 babies in the city of Birmingham over the year, mainly black babies, for lack of decent medicine and care. But you and I do get terribly excited over in that same city when someone puts a bomb in a church and blows up 2, 3, 4 little children.
For so long, the Negro in America has had a consciousness of a white Christ. Today, as there's a rise in the consciousness of black identity, there are many who have said we need a black Christ. And these are black Christians who are saying this because they see that a white Christ is irrelevant to the hopes and aspirations of black people. And of course, if we want to speak classically, I would say Christ and the true divine Christ knows no color. But in our racist society, he has to take one concrete form to be relevant for either the whites or the blacks in this culture.
Yes, I was at that Black Power conference, as were a number of other black Episcopal priests. And we were not disturbed by this. We expected this, that there would be a rejection of Christianity as a white man's religion, as indeed it is. And it seems to me if we ever are going to solve this question, we're going to have to admit that fact. But we're going to also have to extricate Jesus from this thing, because I don't think he's in that bag at all. It may mean then that Christianity will take a different direction than the white nationalist direction, unfortunately. It seems to me that my most understanding assessment of situations is always the situation where I'm standing full black nationalist. I'm almost afraid of this business because the danger is that it will usurp my basic faith, which is Christian. It has that kind of excitement and vitality and contagion about it. I really do believe that black nationalism serves a creative purpose in a projected multiracial world, because it seems to me it serves the purpose of confronting white people with what they really are. I don't think they've really seen themselves as they are until they see themselves reflected in the mirror of black nationalism. They're frightened by it because they are frightened by themselves. And if this will, as I believe it will, serve the purpose of moving them toward becoming more human, in other words, if it will move them toward creating an image of themselves that they look better, we have no need for black nationalism and can ourselves make ourselves over in ways that we like better and which I think would be more human all around. But right now, I think we need the confrontation and we need all the pressure we can get, and we need to keep that pressure on so that hopefully, here's optimistic and Christian, hopefully human nature can be reshaped into more viable forms and more viable shapes.
You know, we've been watching, I feel, the if you want to call him the Negro in the street go through his type of revolution, which is the affirmative, the aggressive, the active. The middle class Negro has developed to the point where he is going through what I would consider a mental revolution. He went back in terms of the going out and the riots and what have you. But I think the Negro in this country and what role the middle class Negro is really going to play in this kind of situation has caused an internal revolution, the mental revolution of the middle class Negro, which I think is, frankly, it's about time it's happened. It's too important.
A mental revolution. What are its roots? For the first 250 years in America, Negroes were concerned with freeing themselves from physical bonds, though the horrors of American chattel slavery left their scars upon not only the backs, but also the minds of its victims. During slavery, distinction arose between those who labored in the fields under the overseer's gun and others, often the illegitimate offspring of the slave owner himself, who were favored with servant jobs up at the big house. These house Negroes, as they were called, were sometimes more mentally chained than the field Negroes they were elevated above. From the house Negroes on the plantations and the small artisan and servant group which established itself in the cities, the Negro middle class developed.
Once you have freedom.
So here again, family, as they said, the mental breakdown that's happening, and they're dealing with their own psychosis. This is now generation of our grandparents dealing with their own psychosis, trying to figure out how to fight against the system, but in their own humanity, the culture of who we are, still looking for some sort of relief from this oppressor. And that's just not the case. That's just not the case. So I'm glad, you got to see people, and we deal with it today. People want to go to school, get an education, get a house, get 6 figures or better, and run away from your problem, or shut down from your problem, or ignore your problem, turn your back on your problem. No other group no other group does this but us. We are the only people who are taught to go to school, get an education, and leave everything that you know. We are the only people who will celebrate criminals than autodidacts. It's crazy to me. No other people do that. So I'm asking the two of you, how do you see the Black middle class today being able to deal with their own psychosis in the world that we live in? We'll start with Brother Black.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I believe since the 70s, let's say, that it's a different ball game now than it was back then, before then, because we have so much distractions now with cell phones in your pocket, computer there, tablet there, long distance calling on social media. You can call anywhere in the world now without a phone card. Phone cards is about to go out the way too, because most people, I'd say under 70, have a Facebook account or Instagram or something. So the mentality of the people now compared to the 60s is that we have so much to not focus or focus on that I don't really think they thinking about it in those terms. You know, most people, like, let me give you an example. Great question, sis. Reginald Lewis, he got rich and he got richer and he became a billionaire. One of our first legitimate billionaires in this modern era. I'm not talking about, you know, Mansa Musa and all them people from way back then. I'm talking about in the 19 and 2000s. And what I'm saying was, but when he would go to sleep at night after he just closed on another $35-40 million deal, it started getting to him because he was like, nah, I got to do something for my people. And we know he boule. We know that you don't get to that, even get to that level if you're not. And, you know, but I don't know if that's true today. And because of my situation as being a targeted individual, I don't really roll in them kind of crowds with people like that, even though I fit in with that because I grew up working and all that. I thought I was going to be an upwardly mobile guy, but I never had a stick in my ass because I always knew better. So with that said, Marcia, I'll let you take that question.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your own analysis. I love it. So the question is, 50 years ago, the middle class of Blacks, and 50 years today, it's the same. They know the problem of the neighborhoods that they've come out of, but yet they are willingly choosing to talk about the issue and not work on the issues. And like we spoke on last week, you know, they move out of our communities. Once you move out of our community, that's tax dollars that, you know, like the sister was saying, I pay my taxes to have a better school system for my child to understand who she is or who any of my children are. But that can't happen if everyone is moving to an upper tax bracket area. That's not going to feed the community. You can't take large tax dollars, put it in a Urugu community and think the Urugu community is going to feed your child who is this, who they are. No, they're going to teach them to be subservient in a different form. They're not going to allow you to express yourself and know who you are. So in order for the middle classers to truly help the classers that are in the hood, as we say, and form a community, is if you move out, then feed us. Feed our organizations that are grassroots so that we don't have to go file for 501c3 and get fed by someone else. And then that someone else at one point is going to dictate how we run our organization. So how are we going to make it work? So we are, for me, in my analysis, we are in the same boat. There is no difference. Nothing has changed. There may be paraphernalias like the cell phones and all of those things that are making things a little bit more different. But there were things then too that we are not current in our eyes with, right? We don't know. Like the television might have been the hottest thing. So people were distracted by the television. We all got televisions in our home. I don't know personally. So I'm not going to speak about what I don't know. But what I do know flatly, we are still in the same boat. They weren't feeding our communities then, and they're not feeding our communities now. That's my point.
Hey, let me throw something in before I give it to Ashe. I'm sorry, sis. I just want to add on to something you said, and I kind of went to, but I didn't actually say it. We got to understand too now, you don't have to be a college educated, light skin, more light than a paper bag anymore to be a Boule member. Now, once you're a rapper like, the Jay-Z and the Evils and, all those examples, Murder Was the Case, these are initiation rituals and so on and so forth. And what I'm saying is we got to throw that in there too, because these guys is representing the hood Are they still living there, even if they still rhyming about the stuff that we know they ain't did in 20, 25 years because they OGs now? Of course. So I just wanted to throw that in. I say, brother, what's up, man?
Peace, family. What's the word? Yo, my big sister Keisha, man, thank you once again for the phenomenal archive video. I mean, I love seeing stuff like that, man. I love seeing videos about people and just picking it apart. You know what I'm saying? Not just the things that they talk about, but the energy. You know, the tone, the fact that these people were not reluctant and just really enthusiastic about doing things. Like you saw in the video, they had people in the church that was there. You know what I'm saying? And back then, it's different from now. Like a lot of us, we just don't want to work with anybody just because you got a different belief, But in terms of what we talking about, this discussion that we are picking up on from last week, Black Bourgeoisie, I definitely got to give a shout out to the Baba, Dr. Amos Wilson. I don't know if y'all mentioned it, but today is actually Amos Wilson's birthday. So if you don't have that in your calendar, put that. What I like to do personally, I put special dates that are very significant to us. I put it in my cell phone, like in the calendar on your cell phone. I just make a holiday up because they make their holidays. Why we can't make our own goddamn holidays, right? So I put Amos Wilson birthday in my phone and I put a reminder. So the day before I get a reminder and all of the other powerful, significant events that's in my phone. So that's a tip for my shade right there. But
thank you, bro.
Baba Amos Wilson been talked about this, man. He said, like, with the bourgeoisie and all of these black people that, get money and leave and not contribute to, the struggles that we have. Like Amos Wilson said, in order for us to overcome oppression, you have to relinquish. And what he's saying is relinquish, meaning make sacrifices. Or like Ashe like to say, I still call it black tithes. Nobody don't want to pay their tithes. We go to church and we want to pay our tithes. We quick to pay our tithes. It's tax season right now. Y'all getting y'all little envelope back to try to get your little tax cut from paying the church. Some of y'all probably only pay the goddamn church just to get your tax cut. Y'all ain't that holy. I know y'all ain't that goddamn holy. Y'all like, oh, it's a tax deduction. Let me get the tithes, and then at the end of the year, I get a tax cut, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But nobody want to pay their black tithes. Why we not paying our tithes? And I like what Marcia said because, listen, we ain't in here trying to fight every goddamn person and change other people's mind and make them come to the light. You know what I'm saying? Make them come to our side. We ain't here to change a lot of these people's mind because a lot of these people stubborn and stuck in their ways. And a lot of these people just can't relate. We've been damaged so much that a lot of these bourgeoisies, they know exactly their place. Some of them, they understand that, they didn't grow up in an environment around us or around our people and they've been brainwashed and they want to come back to the motherland. But some of them, literally, I mean, we could call out names. We got a lot of people, even in a so-called conscious community, that literally do things intentionally to damage the struggles of our race, the strides that we take. You know what I'm saying? They try to damage that personally. So we know we got sick people that look like us. So we ain't trying to argue and convert everybody over. You know what I'm saying? Because some of them, they just gonna have to go. Like when we on the front line, when it's wartime, they gonna have to go too. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is gonna hear that war horn, hear that calling to come back home. And I feel like a lot of these bourgeoisie, these rich black people, like my brother Black said, even in the entertainment industry, celebrities, so on and so forth, that get money and they leave and they don't want to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just give your tithes, pay your tithes and fund the real revolution, fund the real warrior class that's out here putting boots on the ground, doing work. You know what I'm saying? And that's not enough, but we'll take that. We'll take it. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't say, a lot of people will say, I donated this and I donated that because they got money and they rich. That don't make you a revolutionary. That don't make you conscious. That don't make you good with your ancestors just because you gave them money. That's the least you could do. You know what I'm saying? I seen people pay for funerals just for clout. You know what I'm saying? Like do all kind of, like Keisha say, shenanigans, right? So we got to keep our eye on that too. Just because somebody get money don't mean that they really for the people. But at the end of the day, all of us, even the people that's on the front line, we got to pay our black tithes. Whether it's you putting on boots and putting in work, getting your hands dirty and building, You know what I'm saying? Or you got the financial means, you could donate, contribute to the revolution. But we got to do that, and we got to make sure that I always say at the end of the show, true courage is knowing how to suffer, and that's because I love the motto of like sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? Learning things that you could do and do without with for the better and the greater good. And a lot of our people, I'm gonna pass the mic with this. Unfortunately, we've been programmed as black people to think that, oh, if one black person makes it and one black person becomes successful, then all black, that's a win for all black people. That's not the truth, family. That's not the truth. Prime example, look at President Obama. What happened with Obama? Oh, everybody, oh, no, let's get out there and vote. Let's vote for Obama 2-3 times. I want him to come back. Matter of fact, we're going to put Michelle in. Let's put Michelle in, right? Just because he became successful and became the president of the United States does not mean that's a win for the race. We have never been, as African people, descendants of Africans, on an individual level. We have never been like that. It's always been a village. It's always been each one teach one, each one lift one up. We build each other up collectively. So if you make it and you make it out the hood and you get money or you successful, or like Keisha said, you go to institution, you get education and things of that nature, you think you made it, that don't do nothing for us. We not, what they say, what you eat don't make me S word. I ain't gonna say it. You know what I'm saying? But that's exactly what's going on, family. So if we don't eat together, then like Baba Amos Wilson said, we got to relinquish some of these things that we got that we don't need to do, especially the people that are wealthy and doing well, and they want to turn up their noses at us. Look, you got to relinquish some of that, family. Please do it yourself, because if not, you know the warrior will relinquish it for your ass. Trust me, because you ain't stopping nothing. You ain't stopping it. We'll come relinquish it for you kindly. You feel me? But at the end of the day, look, we want our people to unite. But at the end of the day, we also know that we can't unite with everybody. So just pay your tithes and stay out the way. And last thing I'm going to say is with these bourgeoisies, in comparison, because Keisha said back then to now, right? In contrast to that, right now, they kind of get not a pass, but it's a little bit more easier for them as black bourgeoisies or people that act like they black, to talk black and don't walk black, don't sleep black, don't think black. They voice in their head ain't black. They sometimes I look at some of these people and I'll be thinking like, yo, you look like Malik, but your brain, the voice in your brain is like Britney or something like that. It's like Chad or Brad or, you know, like is your voice in your mind? Is that an African voice? Do you think about that? Like, is that an African voice in your mind? When you hear yourself talking in your mind, talking to yourself, is that a black voice? Or is that a program whitewash goddamn devil voice that's in your brain? A lot of us got to think about that. So when it comes to this bourgeoisie and the modern era that we in, a lot of them got the passes now. All they got to do is put Black Lives Matter logo on their business. Oh, support black owned business. We don't do that. Because if we come in and we see you a black owned business and it's half black owned and half white owned, then how the hell is that going to make sense, family? How are we supporting black owned business if your goddamn spouse is not black? Or you taking the money and you're not reinvesting it back into the black community. You just taking the black dollars that you get. You ain't no different from the Akis and the bodegas, corner stores, and all the other people that's in the black community and take money, and then where they go live in Long Island, Connecticut. You the same thing, black man, unless you put in and circulating that money and contributing to the war efforts that we in. Because this war, we in a war, family. You know what I'm saying? But relinquish that, pay your black ties, and step out the way, family. Please step out the way, because there's real people out here that's trying to get it.
For real, for real, for real. You're right, Dr. Filet. Shout out to the great Nina Simone. Also, we did a great presentation on Nina Simone last year. If y'all want to check through the archives, I told y'all who took possession of her property, who gave it to them. Go back to the archives and see for yourself. Connect the dots between Kamala Harris and Nina Simone. We already broke all of that down, so check through the archives if you want to know more about that story, family. But we winding down. We got to move a little bit ahead, so I had to stop the clip. from that documentary, I wanted to bring up the great Barbara Sizemore. Um, I think, hold on, I think I got brother covered here. Sorry about that, Black. There we go. Um, some commentary. This was taped by Transatlantic Production, Minister Brown, but this was recorded at a United African Movement Forum. So since I'm a member of UAM, we're gonna play it. How about that? All right, hold on, family. The great Dr. Barbara Sizemore.
Street, they didn't have ground. And look at all these cars parking in front of our house.
Hey, Keisha is going in and out. Keisha, can you hear me?
Obviously, if we had the money, we couldn't be buying $35,000 cars. Money we got to. Point is that we say we don't have any money, but funny enough, we got money to buy all of these clothes and all these rings. I see brothers and sisters with 9 pounds of gold hanging around them, talking about they ain't got no money. Well, I guess not if it's all on plastic. But that's another problem. That's another problem. You must try to be plastic free. All right. The plastic makes you a victim. The plastic makes you a victim. You will never participate in the capitalist process as a winner if you are a victim. All right. Little brother came to me and he talked to me. He said, all this old capitalism crap you talking about, he said, you have to shut up because we don't want to be engaged in capitalism. I said, shut your wallet. So he took out his wallet. I said, ain't no money in it. He said, no. I said, well, how you live? Where you live? Because I got to pay rent where I live. Where you live at? You don't have to pay no rent. What do you eat? Because every time I go to the Jewel, they want long green pictures of dead presidents. All right. I mean, hey, man, be real. You can't live in the United States of America without any money. Right. I don't know a problem that our people have that would not be solved by more money. Right. Now you see me afterwards. You see me after them, the money won't solve because I want to know about it because I'm making a list of them. All right. Because in a capitalist country, you see, that's the whole gig. That's the whole gig. The whole gig is to make everything cost money. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, everything is for sale. That's right. That's right. That's right. Everything. That's Justin Jackson. Now, if you want to change things around here, I'm with you. I'm for you. But in the meantime, while you changing, you got to eat. Because if you don't eat, you're going to be one dead revolutionary.
Keisha, you there? Hello.
So let's be real. I'm trying to stick to what's real because it's this tension between what's real and what's ideal that's killing our kids because they don't know how to deal with it. Okay, what's the problem here? The problem here is that the economy has been restructured. All right. So that the jobs that people used to get with little or no education have now disappeared. All right. In order to get one of those jobs, you now have Taiwan, all right, or Mexico City, all right, or Haiti. You got to commute for those jobs now, ladies and gentlemen. They're not in Brooklyn. Okay? So those jobs are gone. So what are our people doing now that those jobs have disappeared? Using their usual creativity to create new ones. But where is opening for these new creative endeavors? In drugs. All right. United States, I know you know better than that. We don't have a drug policy. We got a prison policy, but no drug policy. 80% of the cocaine used in the United States is used by white people. Right. 80%. But look at television every night. Do you see them going to jail? No. Because that's not the way the business is structured. All right. You see, the drug industry is now a part of the gross national product. And they can get rid of it if they wanted to. mad at Kurt Schmoke because he said, and Joycelyn Elders, because they're talking about legalizing drugs. Nobody gonna legalize drugs. You don't have to take those two people seriously. It's not gonna happen because people make too much money off it. Not us. Not us. We getting killed and going to prison. But that's part of the deal too. Look at this. Look at this capitalist plan now. Look at it. Did I tell you what? To make a profit by any means necessary. Right? Okay. How you make a profit here? Well, you build the prison. Where are these prisons built? In New York City? In Brooklyn? Oh, who lives there? Okay, then who's gonna build these prisons, ladies and gentlemen? Who's gonna provide the guards in these prisons, ladies and gentlemen? I rest my case.
All right.
Gonna provide jobs, both construction, maintenance. Okay, that's where the job's gonna be in prison. All right, now let's look at where the money goes. A sociologist named Troy Duster at the University of California, Berkeley, has been studying the drug business. Troy is a brother. He's a sociologist. And what he noticed is that there are layers, just like in any other hierarchy, right? There's guys at the top, guys at the bottom. Okay, as you come the top, the international cartel that runs the drug business, it's on top. Those are the international owners of the drug business. And then underneath them is a layer of international distributors. These are the people that distribute drugs all over the world. Then underneath them is a loose network of international bankers. They launder the money so that it can be distributed into business. And it is this money that's fueling the economy now. So if you're looking forward to drugs being disappearing, you are really naive.
That's right.
Black people just don't get it.
That's right.
They just don't get it.
That's right.
The bottom of the street industry is run by poor Black and Latino people, or anybody else that's poor want to get in it. Now, these are the people selling on the street, so they get caught and they get put in jail. Now, the part of the drug business that's used by the middle class elite gives you less time in jail than that sold to the poor. So as you come down the line from the international cartel, you get blacker and blacker and blacker, okay? And the punishment starts with the street level.
All right.
No bankers go to jail.
That's right.
No bankers go to jail.
That's right.
The regional representatives in the country, they don't go to jail.
Right.
The couriers go to jail. The street distributors go to jail.
That's right.
The managers of the distribution in the poor communities go to jail.
That's right.
Because it's easier to put them in jail. Because they have no group that helps them to survive.
That's right.
So these people come from the dysfunctional groups in the society.
All right.
These are the groups whose culture doesn't save them.
All right. All right.
Because the people haven't had enough sense to save their culture.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right.
The people don't have enough sense to save their culture. Y'all better stop playing over here. The people don't have enough sense to save themselves, to save them culture. Dr. Sizemore broke down the drug game. Plain and simple for everybody. Broke it down. How it works. Now you have all of these black mayors. New York, Baltimore, all of these different black mayors. All of them saying we want to be tough on crime. That's tough on you. Mayor Adams here in New York announced the other day that they have taken 1,500 guns, illegal guns off the street. But nobody asked the question, how many white gun runners are in that group? How many Asian gun runners are in that group? How many of you have seen on the news police running up in white people's neighborhoods pulling citizens out of their apartments and their homes, terrorizing their children, even though they claim that methamphetamines, fentanyl, and everything else is on the rise, and these white folks is engaging and dying at an alarming rate, you don't see the same energy they gave us in the 80s and the 90s with the crack epidemic. We ain't getting that. We ain't getting that. But again, check the psychology, family. You voting for these folks. And in the background, as I said, Dr. Sizemore's presentation was recorded at a United African Movement Forum. And you hear the person in the background saying, all right, that's the great attorney war, the chairman of in the background. And one of the things that the chairman would always teach us is that you can never, ever do battle, no military playing field that you are engaging in. If you don't understand these things, everything else will confuse you. Confuse you. 100% confuse you. And we still got our people in the streets today. We're in February 23rd, 2023. Still saying we got to get tougher on crime. And every time you hear this, you have the gun buyback programs for us, but none for Urugu. You know, your thoughts on the presentation of Dr. Barbara Sizemore. We'll start with Brother Ashe, the fire guard.
Yeah, I just love the energy. The energy she gave was straightforward and to the point, you know, because like we said, we keep repeating this circle and it's like the same conversation that we have in decade after decade after decade. If we had enough sense, we would come together and analyze this. That's what she said. That's what the doctor said in the video. You know, we got to start using our African sense and our African mind collectively. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these other people are benefiting collectively, and we still are only ones here. And I love what you said, Keisha, about, you know, the drugs and the crime and all of that stuff. Because, yeah, it's the same exact thing. All they telling you is it's the season. N-words. I want to say it, fully say it, but they saying N-words, it's the season. We about to start our sweeps. And when we start our sweeps, don't say we ain't warn your ass. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all they're gonna do is when they say they're gonna go tough on crime, it's just they building a quota. You know what I'm saying? Annually building a quota. It's like Black Friday at the end of the year. If the businesses ain't make no money, they said, hold up, we're gonna rush it. We're gonna do the old okie doke on them. We're gonna make our money, get out of the red. But that's exactly what these goddamn prison systems and the precincts and the judges and the lawyers, because they make money off of it. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. This day Black Friday, when you hear them say, oh, we're going to be tough on crime. Yeah, we're going to be tough on blackies. That's what we're going to do. That's what they saying. Time to arrest y'all. You know what I'm saying? So we just got to be very aware of what's going on collectively. And let's start making some moves, some real strategy, because you can hear in the doctor's voice. You can hear the impatience. You can hear the level of just, you know, tired of hearing the same rhetoric over and over and over again. You know, no, people are not solution oriented, action based. You know, that's what it's all about. That's what we got to get into. So we just promote that up here, and we're gonna always continue to do that and build with like-minded people. And if you just some of them people that just want to talk about information and YouTube channels all day, then that don't resonate with us up here, because all of us on this panel today have definitely put together initiatives to help our community, to help our race continuously. You know what I'm saying? You could check my file, check the file. You know what I'm saying? But that's not to brag or nothing, but that's just to say, like, we are serious up here. We want to link with serious people. So I really appreciate what she was saying, but unfortunately, it's like a lot of us, we got to keep going back and watching these videos over and over and just study it, because in this day and age, 2023, we still don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder what it's gonna take, man, because they not gonna arrest all of us. You know, they would like to kill all of us. That's what they would like to do. They would like to kill us, but they can't arrest all of us because then they ain't gonna have no more of us to arrest. So they arrest us in seasons. They arrest some of us and leave some of us out here to work their jobs, to run everything that they need to run it because they can't do it by themselves, to give us culture. Because if we wasn't out here giving the culture, they want. So they give some of us passes. Matter of fact, let's talk about the ones that they give the passes to. The same people we was talking about earlier, the black bourgeoisie, the people that got the huge pass. In the video earlier, didn't they say the house slave was the one that was more brainwashed than the field one? Well, that's all the bourgeoisie is. What you said?
But she was. But the house slave, majority of the time, from that particular video, is saying that that's also master's child. So, of course, that child is going to be torn to pieces and doesn't understand their place because I got to work for my daddy, but then I'm sort of kind of free. I'm sort of kind of something. So
well,
it is
true,
very confusing.
That's true, sis. But we also know that we had mammies that wasn't no child or no damn
of course,
master.
Of course.
They appointed certain people specifically to be like, you gonna be the overseer, not the Irish. You know what I'm saying? So with those people, I feel like those people have transitioned now to follow their ancestors, unfortunately. Because we all want to be like our ancestors, right? But we got to start weeding out some of our goddamn ancestors. That's what we're going to have to do now. We're going to have to take the sage to the goddamn altar. You're going to have to sage your own goddamn altar nowadays. You don't know who. So these people that sell out, we don't know who in their goddamn family tree. Damn, they sell us out like quicker than yeah. I don't know. We're gonna sage though. Just eat the goddamn sage at this point. We don't know. We don't know who is who for real, yo. So also on the real, like we definitely just gotta, pay attention and follow. I mean, we know we all damaged. We still dealing with the damage and the effects from this day. But come on, family, use your African mind. Let's get together collectively and let's build, family. Right now, where I live, best stop. I thought it was gentrified already. I didn't know it's possible to get even more gentrified.
It's getting more gentrified.
Another big, huge condo building. And that's not even going to be apartment complexes or lottery buildings or nothing like that. That's just literally $1 million condos. Condos, family, million and up. You know what I'm saying? So who's moving into the community? You know what I'm saying?
Russians.
All of these people. The Russians.
Yes.
Oh, well, I won't be surprised. The Ukrainian, everybody, they getting all the benefits.
Yes.
But go ahead,
like Big Auntie or Big Mama said, that culture saves. So we need to find culture. We need to be able to filter through what they present to us as culture too, and what is authentically African culture. Because too many times our children see what they see on the TV as culture and say that's us. And that's truly not us in terms of, oh, let's bring back Run DMC, the Adidas, this. It goes a little further. That point, it was starting to get washed up. But we ourselves who were in that particular realm wasn't really seeing it. But now we understand. Like now we could look back 20 years and like, oh, this is when it started, right? We can see and we can dive back and really start peeling back the layers. We are the generation that could really make changes if we really put the effort to understand what our culture really looks like, and one of the Babas that was there was talking about confronting Christianity and confronting this and confronting that. The problem is that we can confront it all we want as, we're going to be elders in like the next 20 years, right? We could confront it all we want. But if we're not making space for our children and their children to be able to confront it with us, then we're not making any headway. And that's where we need to be, I think, as, potential people that are entering into eldership in 10, 20 years. In this preparation time, we need to be able to forge for the little people so that they can have confidence, so that when they're our age, they can make heads. Because right now we're in a little box. We're still young enough to fight, but we don't have enough people to fight with us. But we can teach the fighters, but they might be afraid. So we can give them that courage. We can look to our elders, but our elders are facing certain health predicaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not willing to fight as strongly and as passionately as we are. So, and there is not so much accountability in our community right now, right? So there's a lot of things that we need to work on, to build on, so that we can be better not for ourselves. At the end of the day, we're always better for our great-grandchildren. We're always better for 5 generations down the line. We're never better for ourselves, because if we're thinking for ourselves, we're still looking in that bourgeoisie eye of, it gotta be me right now, and I gotta have all the fancy things. The fancy things isn't getting us anywhere. But one thing that the mama did point out before we cut out is the drug industry, right? And with all the marijuana legalizations that's going on in New York City, it's very interesting to put this into play, right? And what does that mean for us? If the drug industry is so bad, and I had friends going to jail for a nickel bag, now I can grow a garden full of stuff and repackage it and not go to jail. What does that truly mean in 5 years? What is the standard of the law that's going to come out? And this is what, we need lawyers to really tell us how to protect ourselves. Yes, sis.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say real quick.
You're right. What it means is they figured out how they could partner with the street and then take it over, the same drug game, how they could benefit off.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's criminalized when they can't make money off it, and they can't figure out the mastery of these young brothers and sisters who were building empires on the street, to be frank.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was legalized, it would have been a Fortune 500 companies on the street
right now.
And this is this is what they do. If you look through every point in history, everything that we have built upon, it was criminalized until they figured out how they can take advantage of it, make money, mass produce it, and keep it for themselves. Then it becomes legalized. But then they put you through all the ringer to start from the bottom all over again. Even though they locked you up when you was doing it on the street, took your product, took your money, took your family from you, put you behind the wall for 30 years, and then come out and now you got to start from scratch. Now I've got
but now it's legal.
Head start on you. Right. And I got a 35-year stretch on you using your money and your game. And now I've taken control of your whole entire family. Go ahead, brother Ashe.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, that's a fact. Before we cut out, I was just going to add to what my sister Marcia said about the culture. You know, the the thing is with us right now is we are operating out of a adopted culture. So we got culture, but the culture ain't our culture. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? We have adopted a foreign culture. So to try to figure out who we are and who our culture is, it's it's a challenge. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the culture that we are operating out of right now is the culture that we have learned from these devils. So what is that saying then? That's saying that the oppressed people have now become the oppressors.
Mm-hmm.
Now we oppressing our own goddamn selves. You see how that works? Because we studying the wrong people instead of studying what? February, Black History Month. We studying Super Bowl, You know what I'm saying? We studying NBA All-Star. We studying all the other distractions except for what we supposed to be studying. Especially not even just the history, because the history is important, but study your goddamn self. Study your black self. Study your actions. Study your character. Study your mistakes that you make. We all make them. Some of y'all, especially in the conscious community, put a goddamn kufi on and kente cloth, and you act like you don't make no mistakes all the time. Like your word is God. You feel me? Now you can't come down and talk to the people because you have read so many books, you know? But we don't study ourselves. So that's when that time alone comes. When you got to sit there and build with yourself and be like, yo, at the end of the day, what I like to do, I go through my day and I think in my mind, like, what happened today? What did I do? I reflect. What could I have done better? How could I have not spoken to that person? Because I'm an Aries, I'm a fire sign. So I'm passionate as hell. And I know some people can't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm learning, like, one thing about myself, I learned, like, yo, sometimes you got to meet people where they are. I'm not going to compromise myself. But at the end of the day, it's like certain people receive things differently. You know what I'm saying? So if you know somebody receives something a certain way and you're not giving it that way, you're giving it the opposite, you wasting your own time, your own energy. And that's the same exact thing that we doing as black people here in this revolution, this so-called revolution. We giving all of our energy to things that are not even productive. We giving our energy to the lights, the camera, the clout, the president, the Obama, the just to sound good. We giving our energy to that instead of the things that are fruitful, the things that are tangible, the things that we can actually touch and feel and go and travel. You know what I'm saying? So we just got to analyze that. Like I said, analyze yourself, study yourself first, you know, and then study everything else. Study, because we study the ancestors. Some of us know the indirect ancestors like Malcolm X and all of these other people, and don't know our own goddamn ancestors. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I know we're gonna cut out. I see my brother Black is back in. Brother, did you want to add to the cipher before we cut out? Oh, you on mute, bro.
Keisha, thank you. Man, I'm glad I listened for the most part. I got a lot out of this. Remember, my family's from a different country too, so a lot of stuff I learned about maybe within the last 25, 30 years. And I'm grateful for that education. I was always into oh, by the way, Sister Keisha, I just wanted to say I did see that movie that you recommended a few weeks ago, Imitation of Life. It was a great movie. So, you know, we talking about that era as well. And I suggest y'all check it out. If you into drama and, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis type movies, it's not the movie for you. But if you into good acting and, you know, period, you know, pieces and stuff like that, great movie. That's all I wanted to say. You get it now, Sister Keisha.
Thank you, Brother Black. Thank you, Brother Black. Again, like I said, every week, for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to show some clips of some things that we've done in our past. Because it is Thursday, it's Throwback Thursday. So we're going to start with the Fire God Ashe. You know, we ended the program talking about these mayors and their tough on crime stances. And, you know, there are a lot of things that are taking place. And please bear with me for 10 minutes, family, as we close this thing out. But I want y'all to see these clips. Here is Brother Ashe, I think maybe about 8 years ago, right? So we going back with Ashe. We gonna go back with Ashe like about 8 years ago. And he did an event with King Simon and some others on disaster preparedness, right? Now, after we played a short clip of Ashe, then I'm going to show you a clip of some young kids who are really about it compared to our children. So hold on, family. Let's start with the Fire God Ashe. Here we go.
So was this thing was things was for me. It was fun up to me to do will come together. I'm so glad you brought people out to the because that I never knew how to protect myself. We know that the whole nation where the law is extremely tight. You know what I'm saying? Here, LA, a bunch of other cities. So they don't give us any education on defending ourselves, being prepared, or anything. So I give my praises to Brother King. When this started happening and I started coming on many willing responses and people saying, man, I really always wanted to do this. After we went for the first time, I was so happy because what happened, I feel like the ancestors found me because what happened was I actually found a black man, y'all. He got his own gun school. You know what I'm saying? So we looked at the gun laws strict. Let's everybody in New Jersey. So we travel across the water. So traveling up there, it actually allows us, it frees us up to be able to shoot in New York City. They allow you to shoot 22 cartridges, 22 caliber weapons. That's pretty much now. I mean, you know, you can get your aim on, you know, not really power or anything like that. That's for beginners. One there, so it actually turned out to be two young brothers.
Yo, it's breaking up for y'all.
That was instructing us, and the master instructor, he wasn't on the set. The two brothers were so knowledgeable.
No, I'm good on my end.
We've been.
Hold on, let me stop for a second because I wanted to switch. Now you saw Ashe talking about disaster preparedness. Again, I said Ashe did this about 8 years ago, right? Now we want to keep our kids away from firearms. We have gun buyback programs in our communities. We don't even know. Did you know, family? There are scholarships being offered to children, high school children, college full-ride scholarships who are interested in hunting, right? But we teach our children, stay away from firearms. Now, I'm going to show you what other people doing with their children. And if you don't think disaster preparedness is for you, think again. Hold on, family. Here we go.
Most are still losing.
Breaking up real bad for
But
me.
home on.
What's her nature rifle name? Barbie? Is it because it's pink?
Yeah, it's breaking up on my end. Yo, in the chat, is it breaking up for y'all? In the chat, say if it's breaking up or not, because we don't know. We're trying to get it together.
It was breaking up. Yeah, I'm gonna try to play it one more time so y'all can see it clearly. But in this 60-second clip, you see other people training there. Hold on. Here we go.
Still losing baby teeth. Without Austin, Texas, it requires
Barbie because it's pink.
Nah, it's wild, Keisha. Yeah, it's wild. You know, my server's been bugging out too recently. I don't know what's going. It's probably a thing.
But I hope you were able to see. Mine too, Ashe. I just ordered a brand new hostum today. I just couldn't take it anymore. So it's going to be here in a couple of weeks. I had some new stuff I had to get because it's driving me nuts. But anyway, Asian children, Caucasian children are trained in having play dates, learning about firearms. What kind of play dates are your children having?
Yep.
Who are they having play dates with? Do you know the company that they are keeping? Stop playing out here, family. I don't want to see you coming back 5 years from now saying it happened to my child. It happened to my nephew or my niece. Go ahead, Sister Marcy. I see you raising your hand.
Keisha, yo, hold on real quick. I'm gonna just say we do the same. We have play dates too, Keisha. The same devils that have they play dates. They go right to our churches and they go right to our schools and shoot it up, and that's our version of the play. We playing all right. Go ahead, Marcia.
Well, at African on the Rise, we play for real. We take our children to understand how to be safe, how to protect themselves. We do all type of arms training, and we do field training as well. You know, so we are not only thinking about the sovereignty of the African mind, but we are thinking about the sovereignty of the African body. So yes, we take our young kings and young kandakes to the range. You know, as long as you 12 and up, we got a space for you. And we're making sure that you understand certain things. Here in the US, it might be, or in New York, it might be a little bit tricky. But there are ways around it to make sure your children know about firearms. Because the ones that don't know, they the ones that shooting on the block, right? The ones that do know and understand what it means to hold a gun is not going to be on a corner. That's not his role. His role will be to protect his community. And that is what we at African on the Rise are working on. So we do a whole liberation movement, whether it is on the body, on the mind, and on the soul. So if you got a little one, come check us out, you know.
Hey, you know
but
what,
also,
too?
yes.
You know what, too? I'm going to just say real quick, too, because, you know, a lot of our people, too, we also get in the habit of when we have children, oh, I don't want my children playing with Malik. I don't want them playing with the other little black kids. Why don't I send them with my coworker, Becky? Yeah, let's have a play date with Becky's children.
Becky's children is most likely going to punch your child in the face. And because it's your coworker, you are not going to say anything, and your kid is going to be damaged from a young age. Don't send them to Becky. Send them to Auntie Marcia, Mama Marcia, Kandake Marcia, however you want to reign me, I'm all right with it. But all I'm saying is we have to work on our children, mind, body, and soul. So African on the Rise is a place to be. Bring your little ones. And I also wanted, you know, I know final thoughts are coming out. I also wanted to let y'all all know that this Sunday, African on the Rise is having a spiritual event for the children 7 to 18. So if you have a 7 to 18-year-old, find me and we could chat it up about how to get your child into the program. It's at 5 o'clock Sunday evening. It's 2-hour program. So hit me up, find me up, and we could talk about how to get your child enrolled. Again, our sovereignty, our liberation is not for us. It is for 5 generations. We are selfish when we think about ourselves. We are selfless when we think about our future generation. Let's think about our future. Ladies, gentlemen, kings, kandakes, we can do it. We can forge a future. We can set up a plan for 1,000 years. but we have to be ready to set up the plan. May time flourish. I appreciate the time here on Thorough Black Talk. Ashe, Sister Keisha, Brother Black, I don't know where you went. Brother
Somebody said
Taz,
he gotta
sorry
go
you
wake
were.
up.
Easing up. Easing
Don't
up.
know they said he gotta wake up. He was dozing off.
Oh man, Brother Tad is sad that you're not here tonight, but we had a
He's back.
fabulous
He's back.
day.
Hey, I ain't
Okay.
never.
Wake
What
up,
y'all
Brother
talking
Black.
about? I ain't sleep over
They
here.
said you were asleep.
Nah, I
said,
wasn't
wake up.
asleep. That's a lie. That's a white supremacist lie right there. I don't care who said it. I'm saying it. Yeah, I said it. That part.
Throw some
I
cold
see
water
it.
on
I
your
see
face.
it. Sister Farnessa said, "Wake up, Brother Black."
Oh, y'all want me to interrupt? Oh, that's why y'all thought I was snoozing. The next time I'm turning up. I'm gonna let this slide for now, but next time I'm turning up.
Throw some cold water on your face. You'll be good.
I'm still
Again, thank you, Sarah Black, for a wonderful evening. I enjoy my time with you all the time. Brother Black, shout out to you.
Peace, sis. I got it next. Last
Thank you,
words.
Brother Ashe. Yeah. Go ahead, Brother Black.
Oh, okay. Real quick. You know, I was the stuff I was saying when I first started coming on the show a year and a half ago, can believe it or not. And thank y'all for the opportunity. It's coming down now. That's why you see so many things happening everywhere in this country, for that matter, all over the world, because they supposedly finding UFOs in China, Venezuela, Brazil. Every time you turn around, a new place and what have you. Everything for the most part is a distraction. And now these Urugus, I like to use the other word, but I'm not going to use it because I'm trying to spare the show from any strikes. But dumb people know now it's on and popping for everybody now. They don't care if you got $1 million in 2 condos, you know, one in the suburbs and one downtown in the city. Anybody right now can get it, because the purpose of the whole cabal agendas was to kill 95% of the people on the earth and enslave the rest. And then you have that elite that just fly around the country and, oh, there goes a quail, and they just with a shotgun downtown 42nd and 5th Avenue, you know what I'm saying, in a drop top or something like that. So everything right now pretty much is a distraction. This is what the COVID was about. They're trying to eliminate as many people as possible. Your job is to stay alive, and to do that, the best way is to love and respect each other, and see us next week here on the Brooklyn Bridge. Peace.
Thank you, Brother Black. Brother Ashe, the fire guard, your final thoughts and comments.
Yeah, once again, take my hat off to my big sister Keisha for the amazing research the effort she always puts in to bring this whole show together. We wouldn't have it without her. And just please watch the replay, y'all. Watch the replay of all of our shows, family. We really dropped some jewels, you know what I'm saying? And they not just coming from us. You know, it's coming from the ancestors and the efforts of the work that we really want to see, you know, come to fruition and affect some real change for our people, man. So do us a solid. Make sure you like, comment, and please, if y'all not, subscribe to us on all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, whatever we got. Subscribe to us, share the video, but do yourself a favor and watch the replay, man, because, yo, sometimes I watch the replays myself just to hear, like, it be things that be going over my head sometimes. I might want to get the title of a book or a documentary or something that I miss and go rewatch it or something. You know, so it's valuable information. We not just up here talking to hear our voices. Trust me, I could be like eating, because I'm a snacker. I could be eating, I could be laid up, chilling, doing something else right now. But we do this because we heard the horn, we heard the war horn, and somebody got to do it, goddammit. So I like what I said earlier. I'm going to leave with that. When I said, listen, it's Black History Month, right? Study history, but most importantly, study yourself. Study your history, goddammit. You Black, study your Black history. Study yourself, family. If you don't study the books and all of this stuff we got here, at least do yourself a favor and study yourself for Black History Month. That's how you contribute to this race struggle, you know? Work on yourself. and then everything else will follow, family. I got this dope book right here. I'm sure y'all probably seen it before. I like to tap into this Yoruba Proverbs every now and then and again. Marcia said culture. Look, this is one of the many cultures that we have. You know what I'm saying? So just surround yourself with tools and resources that you could use to always bring yourself to your Black African mind, family. It's your brother Ashe SJ signing out. Please drop some water for the Baba Amos Wilson. Like I said, today is his birthday. Pour your libation. That's definitely one of my favorite ancestors when it comes to this African American struggle. And with that being said, true courage is knowing how to suffer, and the battlefield is where you stand. Sister Keisha.
Good to be Black with y'all again for another great week right here on the Brooklyn Bridge with Thorough Black Talk and the crew. We will see y'all again Black next week as we continue to break down of who we are. History is not just a name, a date, or a place. It is a time. It is the essence, the politics, the culture, the vibe of that time to create those named places and things, right? So here on Thorough Black Talk, we like to break it all down, give y'all the real. Next week, we'll have a throwback of Brother Black and Sister Marcia. They don't know what I'll be coming out of the churches with. Well, I'm telling you, I come through with stuff. Be like, who
And you got to give at least a forewarning of sorts or something here. Come on now.
I did give you a forewarning.
She just did. So if you know
y'all
what dirt
sisters,
you
I'm going to play on everything right now.
Wait a minute. If you were a good brother outside, there's nothing for you to be worried about. I ain't worried. I'm a good sister.
Okay. Just go back to sleep, bro. You'll be all right.
The napper, Black the napper.
Oh my God, I cannot. We'll come back with some clips. Brother Black.
I'm turning up next week.
Marcia and Brother Tad. I'm digging in the crates with Brother Tad. I'm telling you right now. You never know what I'm going to pull out, but enjoy the rest of y'all week. Keep it Black and keep it thorough. We'll see you back next Thursday right here on the Brooklyn Bridge. We out, y'all. Good night.
Yeah.